If you are running at target marathon pace for a half marathon in training or for extended long runs, then you're doing it wrong. You are not hitting your potential on how fast you can run a marathon. Now, this may sound controversial, but it's completely true. In this video, I'm going to go through my personal approach, and I'm not saying it's the best approach in the world. I'm definitely not the fastest runner on YouTube or even close to people on Instagram, etc. But I have improved over a fast period of time. And I'm keen to document my personal journey from very amateur athlete to hopefully something somewhat decent and respectable. I'm currently just a few weeks away from Berlin Marathon with a 2:39 goal, and I would say I'm pretty far off at the moment. It's not going amazingly, it's not going terribly, it's somewhat in the middle. Like, it could be better, it could be worse. I definitely think you can make good grounds in your training in just a few weeks, but here is my current approach leading up to the last few weeks to Berlin Marathon. So right, let's get into it. Before we do so, I'm just going to take you outside. I'm currently in my parents' house at the moment for some pretty sad family reasons. So I've been based here in Jersey, Channel Islands for a fairly long period, but no one wants to be sat inside. Not that the weather's amazing, but we're going to chat through my marathon approach out here. Oh, what a beautiful backdrop. So here we go. We got my laptop. I wanted to basically take you through one of my sessions that I did today, and I think it went pretty well. The issue with being in Jersey at the moment, where my family is based, is that there's a lot of hills, a lot of wind, a lot of cars. You don't have those flat pancake parks like you do in London where you can just hammer it around. And so hitting target race pace or faster than race pace can be difficult. So I actually did 20 kilometers on the track this morning, which is pretty rough, I'm aware, but I just wanted to make sure that I did hit pace. So I'm going to just screen record my laptop, and we're going to go through the session today and talk through my approach in the last few weeks leading to Berlin Marathon. If you're doing Berlin Marathon, then best of luck. I hope your prep is going better than mine. As I said, it could definitely have gone a lot better. You don't want to just be taking your approach in a marathon of literally extending your long run each week. This is what I see most people do. Most people who say are running over 3 hours in the marathon, they seem to be obsessed with the distance they run. They're like, oh, I've done 34K, I've done 36K, I've done, if you're in miles, 20 miles, 22 miles. And they think, oh, if I get close to the marathon distance, that means I can run it, right? And while that is true, that's not going to make the biggest difference in terms of you running faster. If you want to run faster, you have to get better and more efficient at clearing lactic acid and lactate, I believe it's converted into, out of your body. So this is actually that uncomfortable zone. I've spoken about it in a previous video, but your lactate threshold, where you want to hold an uncomfortably hard pace and you get your body more efficient at clearing this. So rather than just like constantly building miles, doing easy runs constantly and extending the distances on the weekend and go, oh yeah, sweet, I can hold this pace for this long, therefore I can run this marathon. It's not true. For example, my run on the weekend, my long run, I did 34 kilometers, which was the longest of this prep so far, but it was way off target marathon pace. It wasn't even sub 3 hour pace. And it's not me panicking going, oh no, I can't hold this. And this was a difficult effort. Like, I was pushing close to max, like it was tough, but I just know that on a different day, when I've tapered, like different mindset, different fueling, you can always push a little bit harder. So I think people almost don't aim as high as they could and don't prepare as well as they could. So in this session today, and kind of the whole philosophy of this training, is making sure that you're doing a lot of work faster than your target race pace. For example, this session was under target race pace. So for my 2:39 goal finish time, you need a 3:45 minutes per kilometer, right? So I did 1 kilometer faster and then 1 kilometer slower at 4 minutes per K. So the overall average pace, so 1K at 3:30 per K, 1K at 4 minutes per K. The overall average pace is actually my target marathon pace. So we end up doing around a half marathon of work on the track, which was incredibly boring. But we averaged 3:44 per kilometer, which is bang on marathon pace, but we actually moved forward. It was actually more effective than if I just did 3:44 for a half marathon, for instance, because I was really working hard for one rep, and then backing off the other rep. Not only was I getting more efficient at 4 minutes per K, a bit slower than marathon pace, because that was actually bringing my heart rate down, I was really spiking lactic, really spiking and pushing hard, increasing my heart rate. If we have a look at my heart rate distribution, pretty much in that threshold zone for most of it, tempo threshold, which is where I'll run the marathon at. Typically I'll run around like 170s-ish heart rate for a full marathon. Anytime I go over 180s, it's danger zone for me. But I think this one I peaked, even going way faster marathon pace, my peak heart rate was 179. So for me, that's spot on. And obviously get to know your body, everyone is different. But in terms of the pace analysis, it was pretty spot on. I mean, I don't really need to go through the details, but the whole philosophy is that you should be doing a lot of work faster than marathon pace. And even if it is for longer reps, and even if it is the recovery periods aren't static, you're still running, you really want to spike lactic, go faster than marathon pace, and then bring it back down. And each week you want to be progressing, right? You can't always just run easy. You can't always just run further and further each week. You need to make sure that you're having a good distribution of hard sessions. Even faster than this, for instance, I will do one track session a week where I'm pushing, say, 310, 315 minutes per kilometer. And these are for like 500 meter reps, you know, under 1 kilometer reps. And people think for a marathon, oh, there's no point doing track work, but it is really, really important. And you see those 5K runners, shorter distance runners, middle distance runners, if they ever try and train for a marathon, their time is ridiculous because they've done all the hard work before. So a lot of people skip this. Don't be that person. Right, now we're going to take you back inside. Wow, I really am exciting, aren't I? I go into some incredibly crazy places. Inside, outside, there's not really too many different angles we've got here, but we're going to go through the actual science and why this works. So why this works in terms of varying your pace distribution, making sure that you're getting quality work in. It may sound obvious, by the way, for some of you it's pretty straightforward. You're doing your hard quality work, you're going faster than race pace, and then for most of your week you're doing the easy pace. But a lot of people when training for the marathon, they, for some reason, 4 or 5 weeks out, they stop and they're just panicking about distance rather than quality. Because I get it, you don't want to do like a hard 5K track workout when you've got to do 42 kilometers to run, but it's still really, really important, and you still want to keep that quality all the way up. I leave it in there all the way up to pretty much the last week. I'll just dial back down the effort a little bit, making sure I don't cook the legs too hard. But you do want to include that quality the whole way through. So what this does is it trains both your aerobic and anaerobic simultaneously. When you're pushing hard, you're going into the anaerobic reserves without oxygen, even if it is for short reps, then back into your aerobic capacity, particularly when you do those continuous float rests. So rather than doing a static recovery, you continuously jog in between each of the reps, you're getting that aerobic stimulus as well, which is really, really important. The other thing, and second, is the neuromuscular adaptation. So when you're running fast and race pace, all of a sudden, it's like magic, and this sounds pretty obvious, but then when you dial back to normal race pace, suddenly your body becomes a lot more conditioned and can run a lot more efficiently at that given pace. It's almost like a good analogy of this is, say if you're training in a gym and you've got a weighted vest on and you're doing pull-ups, the moment you take that off and you just do body weight, it suddenly feels way easier than if you just done body weight in the first place. And then the last thing that I wanted to talk about, my memory card just dropped out there, was the mental toughness that you build. So when you're going way faster than race pace, say that you're doing, for instance, for me, my marathon pace last year was 4-minute Ks, but then that actually was a recovery today, right? It's that progressive overload each week. You're getting faster and faster. So it's making sure that you track that, but it's the mental toughness. So when you know that you've, say, only got a kilometer or 800 meters, you're running fast, it is difficult, but you work out ways to get through it. And I think these sort of mental techniques and really pushing as hard as you can and getting used to pushing close to your max HR, close to your like full out max, is something that you get used to over time. And so this is something that you have to practice at, you get better at. You can't just not run hard at all, run easy the whole time, turn up to the marathon and go, yeah, I've got the distance in the legs, but you just don't have that mental grit that you develop, I believe, in those VO2 sessions, threshold sessions, those harder workouts. They're really, really important. So to keep this video as practical as possible, here are the key takeaways that I want you to go and apply to your own training from a very average marathoner. No, I'm doing okay. Hopefully this prep goes well and we get a good result and it does work, and I can show you there's proof in the pudding. But what I want you to do is, it may sound simple and it's obvious for for a lot of runners, but apply that 80-20 rule and be strict with it. That 20 should be so hard. It should be harder than you think. It's not like going for a long run. That doesn't count as hard volume. Hard volume is pushing way faster than race pace, pushing close to your max HR, and really developing that grit and determination that's going to help in the marathon distance. The second is integrate the workout that I've just done into your marathon build. So the plus minus protocol, where you overall average the workout at target race pace. So go 15 seconds faster per kilometer, 15 seconds slower per kilometer, and you can do under over for 1K reps. You could even do mile reps if you really want, and apply the same for your mile race pace time. And you're going to bank quality volume. You want to make sure that you get around a half marathon, around 20Ks in there, and that will give you real good confidence, especially at this point out the marathon. And then closer to the actual event, I might do say 22K straight, or that's when I might apply actual marathon pace for a given workout. The last and final is some actionable workouts for you to include. So I want you to replace a steady, moderate run where you think you're pushing hard, but really you're just running easy and then speeding up towards the end. It might be a progression run, it might be a steady run. Replace this with actual quality. Things like 5 sets of 2K hard, 2K should be around 5K to 10K pace. Around that mark, 9 by or 10 by 1K reps, super hard. These sessions of real quality you want to incorporate at least once a week. Just make sure that you incorporate these. So we're going to wrap up there. Hopefully you got some value from this. Subscribe to the channel. I'm going to be posting more videos to help you improve your marathon time, get better at running, and make sure to subscribe and follow the journey.